Struggling to 3-star at Town Hall 15? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you can use to 3-star any base. Kicking us off at number 5 is the Super Yeti Mass Revive. This is a very strong and simple spam army that uses the Revenge deck's ability effectively with revive spells. We are going to use the Dragon Duke though on one side of our funnel. Ideally, we're allowing the Revenge deck to deal damage to defenses while the Dragon Duke himself deals with trash buildings. On the other side, we have the Barbarian King setting up funneling on the other side, so our Super Yetis have enough power to work in with the Grand Warden and the Archer Queen, who has the action figure and healer puppets. This way we can use the heroic torch of the Grand Warden to get everything in, where we should also consider using our druids. This is going to provide a lot of burst healing for our Super Yetis to keep everything alive. The Overgrowth spell can also be used to control a bit of pathing, but this way what we're able to do is we have enough of a push to have all of our Super Yetis, both from the CC and from our army, to work through. Any spells like Freeze is really good at minimizing a lot of damage. If you have Earthquake, you should use that in order to minimize the wall's HP, so you're able to get it more comfortably through the base. But otherwise, you have revive spells. Now in this case, we don't lose any heroes, so we actually swag all of our revive spells. But if you do need to use them, I heavily recommend using them on the Dragon Duke, or really any hero for that matter, as they're all incredibly useful to revive in this situation due to how powerful everything is. But mainly, you do want to use your revive spells on the Dragon Duke for the best value. As for number 4, we have Root Rider Smash. Now, instead of running a traditional Royal Champion charge, we're actually going to be running a Dragon Duke with the Revenge deck and Ice Block. Ideally, this is a bit different from a simple Royal Champion charge, but we can use the rocket balloons to clear out nearby defenses. That way, we can force him to target defenses not only with the Revenge deck, but with the Angry spell. This allows us to get him a little bit deeper into the base without the necessary need of the Angry Jelly. This allows us to use our Ice Block spells every so often in order to get the best value out of our Dragon Duke. We can let him move every so often, so that way he's able to heal from using the Ice Block spells while also still being able to deal damage. This allows him to reposition more effectively, and so long as you're behind sweepers, this can be an incredibly strong option. This way you can just be very patient with your Dragon Duke and Ice Block spells, but overall you'll have more than enough power to clear out a really good funnel for your Root Riders, and this can really establish a lot. This allows you to cut off the funnel on the other side with your King and Queen, so you can basically have the Root Riders actually work through the middle portion of the base. The Dragon Duke in this case can clear quite a lot of value if you can set him up properly. That way you have the healers, you have the troop launcher, the Valkyries, and everything else working alongside your Root Riders in order to basically overkill the rest of the base. The Dragon Duke can even stay alive if possible with the Revenge deck, but you do still have a revive spell if you do need to bring him back up as your Root Riders are moving through. You do have the Rage Gem in order to power up the healers, so that's why you want to protect them with balloons, which is especially true from the troop launcher, but you should also have the Overgrowth to control pathing and minimize damage. The Eternal Tome is great in terms of protecting all of your units. In this case, we honestly really didn't need it, and you could run the Healing Tome instead if you prefer, but for the most part, this strategy is incredibly powerful, and so long as you can control your Dragon Duke in a fairly simple way, you should be able to dominate a lot of bases with the Ice Block and Revenge deck combo into something like Root Riders in this case. As for number 3, we have Super Bowler Smash. Similar to the Root Riders, we are using this in order to set up funneling for our actual Super Bowler push. We do want to start this off though by using the Dragon Duke, allowing him to go in for defenses and buildings, and sometimes he can even funnel himself into the base. This does allow us to get our Ice Blocks in a bit more effectively, and allowing him to reflect damage and also heal from that reflected damage. Otherwise, again, we just want to use our Ice Block spells every so often. Using them back to back can usually not get a lot of value and can definitely hinder your strategy. So you definitely want to use it more in tune with where he is going while still allowing him to attack. This creates a good enough funnel for your actual push. That way you can run the queen on the other side in order to cut off the funnel for the super bowlers, while then also having your Ice Golem, the Grand Warden, and obviously your super bowlers to actually start working in towards the core of the base. Even if the Dragon Duke still remains up, you'll have a lot of value from the ice blocks if you have any left over. You just want to be very selective when you're using it. Otherwise, you can use a Barbarian King to continue the funnel deeper in order to make sure that the super bowlers are staying inside the base. That way, as you push into the base, whether that is with super wall breakers or open wall segments, you can use your Eternal Tome and Heroic Torch to power up the super bowlers, while also having the rage spells at the ready to do massive damage with the super bowlers. Otherwise, you have the super bowlers power underneath the Heroic Torch and the rage spell in order to really clear through bases, and you even have a revive spell to get your Dragon Duke right back up and allow him to help clear out any leftover trash buildings and defenses for a very simple 3-star. As for number 2, we have none other than Dragon Riders. These guys are particularly strong, and the Revenge deck has allowed you to create much better funneling for them. Obviously, we are going to start off with the Dragon Duke again, but this time we're going to use the Angry spell earlier. We want to get him in so he's dealing with defenses. We're trying to create defensive pathing so the Dragon Riders have a lot more control. This allows us to use our Ice Block spells every so often in order to continue to let him move throughout, while also being able to attack every so often. So that way we can get him into better positions for the ice block, so that way he can heal more and allows him to take on more damage and deal with defenses to take them out. Otherwise, as long as you can kind of use your spells every so often, this should give you more than enough coverage in order for you to set up enough funneling. This way, once you have kind of used any of your leftover ice blocks, you can kind of let him fall, but at that point, you can then go ahead and just send in your Dragon Riders. This allows you to have a lot of power, and since you've already created a bit of funneling, maybe even cleared out the core of the base with the Dragon Duke, you can really have your Dragon Riders and Inferno Dragons actually work in. Just make sure to space out your Inferno Dragons so you're able to get much better value from them. Otherwise, we do want to use things like totem spells to redirect a lot of damage away from our Dragon Riders as they work around. And you can even have the Royal Champion with their Seeking Shield and Rocket Spear to clear out a different section of the base. Otherwise, as you work towards the core, you should use the Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to protect everything, and even the Dark Orb to slow down defenses, which still applies to overgrown defenses. Otherwise, you just need to make sure that you are still moving right the way through the base with no problems, and once that overgrowth spell expires, you'll be able to easily deal with the Town Hall. Maybe you'll have a freeze rage spell at the ready to power up your entire attack as you work around. You even have a revive spell in order to get the Dragon Duke right back, and since the Revenge deck is really good with Revive, you're able to really get a lot of value even towards the back end or when he loses his passive, because he's still able to heal effectively while also being able to deal quite a bit of damage, even if it's not a ton. Otherwise, this should allow you to 3-star more often than not. And finally, at number 1 is none other than Hydra. This is my favorite strategy, as credit to Applesauce for this incredibly strong army. Obviously, we're going to do the same thing where we're going to be using the Archer Queen in order to snipe down 1 to 2 air defenses, and we're going to do the same thing over on the other side with the Dragon Duke. In this case, he does have the Revenge deck, so we can kind of let him go on his own while still being able to damage defenses. This allows us to send in the rest of our dragons, the Minion Prince, the Dragon Riders, the Skywagon, etc. as we work in. The Ice Hound is great in terms of protecting our Hydra as they work towards the core. And Overgrowth is also used in order to control pathing, and we can even use the Healing Tome and Lava Loon Puppet alongside a rage spell as we move into the core to keep a lot of more troops alive. The Lava Loon Puppet is incredibly good in this attack because of the damage it's able to soak up, in addition to the traps it can also tank away from from your other dragons and dragon riders. Otherwise, you just need to make sure that you are using that slow on defenses with the minion prince, and otherwise, as long as you have the overgrowth spell over a key threat, like in this case the town hall, you can very easily overwhelm it later in the attack. You also have a revive spell. Again, you can use this for the Dragon Duke, which is usually preferred, but you can also use it on something like the Queen. You also have a freeze spell in order to minimize a lot of damage, and even an ice block spell for the Dragon Duke for earlier on in the attack, but you can easily get 3 stars with this strategy. Now, hopefully, each of these attacks will help you in earning more 3 stars at Town Hall 15, especially with how powerful the Revenge deck is with the Ice Block spells. But if you do want a refresh on the easiest ground attack strategy that you can use currently, I recommend checking out this video right here, but YouTube says you may prefer this one instead.